Good evening, everybody. Steve Goody here. Hope everybody is well. Usual story. I'd be keen to see if I'm sitting here talking to myself or whether all of you people out there in the world are actually on board and watching. So bang in and say where you're from. Cool. So from Lower Hutt, I'll represent just down the road. Good to hear from you. One from New Plymouth or Knee Plymouth. Everybody, cool. Taupo. Yeah, banging in from all around the country. Love that. So good to have you all on board. Welcome to part 5 of this webinar series of 3 parts. This was really, really successful for us. We had a couple of thousand people on the last one. And so really, really happy to have a big number here. Mighty Tahi Bay, Raglan representing. Auckland, had to happen. Timaru, the Mighty South. Great to have everybody on board. And so we had a bit of a scratch around and we thought, well, heck, we need some more speakers then. Let's get some more really interesting people that are doing really interesting things. And at the time, I was having a really good chat with my good friend Mark here, who's done more renovations, I think, than most people have had hot dinners. I think it's possible that he may have done nearly as many renovations as I have. I've known Mark for many, many years, and I'll let him explain who he is. Let's bang him on stage here. G'day, Mark. How you doing?
Steve, how are you? Nice to see you, mate.
You too. Loving that background once again. Fake as hell, but I mean, if I had the background, that'd be the one, right?
Yep.
So, God, how long have we known each other? It's got to be 10 plus years, right?
Oh, more probably. Way more than that. Way back, I think. Probably early property tutors, to be fair now.
Yeah. Fancy that. Yeah, cool.
I think I'm even older than you, which is quite scary. So
nobody's older than me. Thanks so much for doing this tonight. I really appreciate it. I know your time's precious, and I think that you've got some cool, interesting stories to tell. Crowd of people tonight. So, I suppose first thing is, do you want to give yourself a little bit of an introduction and tell the people who you are, who you work with and for, and how you got into property?
Yeah, sure. Look, I grew up in West Auckland. I'm an Aucklander. I grew up in a state house. So for your younger viewers, that's Kaingaora these days, isn't it? A lot of people don't know what a state house is. Went to a very low decile school, and school was very boring because it didn't hold my interest very much. So I was a bit of a dropout. And entered the workforce very early. And one of the things I remember about being young and growing up in a poor family is going to my friends' houses and thinking, gee, these people have got nice houses and they're big houses, and thinking, what's the difference between them and me, What's the difference? Why do I have to be different? So my first forte into property was at 18. I'd saved, I think it was $7,000, brought a 4-bedroom, 1-bathroom house in Massey in West Auckland, rented it out, and never really looked back from property. Went off to the UK a couple of years later, did an OE, came back, went back, spent 10 years over there, started buying property and selling it in the UK and did pretty well out of that, and then came back and became very active in South Auckland, buying home and incomes on large sites, multiple dwellings with really good rental returns, and that was good. And then started buying properties on the North Shore and doing them up. And what I realised is that I had a real passion for renovating, and not so much for property management or for tenants, but certainly for the renovations part of things. And it really excited me seeing the end result. And I guess when my personal circumstances changed a little bit, I got out of South Auckland, predominantly started buying houses that were beachside. So I Airbnb properties now because the returns are so good that I've got in those areas. And I still have some property, and just in the last couple of years, I've been trading.
So it sounds a lot like what I was doing as well, very, very similar, and probably very similar times, bought something overseas, came back, didn't like being poor, and just got stuck in because you love it,
Love it.
Yeah. And we were talking before we jumped online just real briefly about, I just love the way that you can buy an underappreciated asset, and for the cost of a couple of tubs of paint and some elbow grease, you can, much like putting a a beautiful fireplace behind you as a backdrop to a webinar, you can just change the whole aesthetic straight away, and it makes such a massive difference. And it makes a massive difference to the value and how people appreciate it, and it's the ultimate form of recycling.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's I find it exciting and I find it rewarding. I love the end product. I like making some money from it as well. But I really enjoy the whole process, and I just think that property is just such a good investment.
Yeah, it's a rich man who can make money doing the thing that he loves, eh?
Absolutely.
So, we've got a couple of examples here, and there's like some before and after photos. I just thought we'd bang through these, and you can explain the project a little bit. And I'm watching the question section, and those guys online tonight that might have some questions about what we go through can bang them out, and I'll ask them like I thought of it because I was really smart. So relying on you guys online to make me look good here, and just give us a rough idea about what these properties are, where you bought them, how you bought them.
So I'll do one. I guess I'll do them on I think there's 2 or 3 of them, maybe 4. But I mean, this one was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom townhouse in Epsom, which is double grammar zone in Auckland. And those people that know anything about Auckland know this is kind of, outside of Kohi and those areas is pretty much where everyone wants to be. And it got severely, all 3 of the houses in a row got severely damaged by the floods early in 23. And I picked this place up through a property finder. I don't mind where I buy my properties from, Steve. I'll buy them at auction. I'll buy them anywhere. It doesn't make any difference to me. I just buy them on the numbers. This had a GV of 1.8 something. I brought it for 1,140. I spent just over 100 grand on it, put in some drainage as well. And actually, I thought it would be a really good earn, to be fair, just because of where it was. Unfortunately, we had 180 groups through this property post-auction. Yep. And you can see it was stunning, absolutely stunning. Every property I do has the same sort of finish, and you'll see as we go through them. But, we had 4 or 5 offers. They kept falling over for various reasons. The really big mistake I made on this one is I gave it back to the agent that I brought it from, thinking that they knew that area, and I didn't have someone in that particular area. I only worked with a very few select agents. Yeah. I'm thinking they knew the area and the client base, and they couldn't deal with the objections.
Right.
So, people would bring up different objections, and they really couldn't get past it. They weren't experienced enough, in my opinion. But look, it took a while to sell. It sat there, and eventually we got a couple of offers at once, and one was cash unconditional, and we took that. But absolutely beautiful property.
What sort of objections are you getting in a double grammar zone for a fully renovated property, though? Wow.
What sort of what?
What sort of objections are you getting when it's double grammar fully renovated?
Oh, the flooding, it was too raw for people. This was the end of last year, and people were still worried that, we were, and are still worried. I think it's a little bit like the earthquakes, obviously, in Christchurch. People couldn't get past that. Eventually, one of the people that came in at the end to buy it actually had brought a lot of earthquake damaged properties in Christchurch. So they were used to buying this sort of property. But look, predominantly just around the flooding, they were worried it was going to flood again. They couldn't get past it. People thought they couldn't get finance, which they could. People thought they couldn't get insurance, but they could. So it was probably a little bit raw. I'm just going to an auction for another flood-damaged house tomorrow. I'm just dipping my toe back in the water. But, I would have expected. I mean, I want to make 100K on every property. That's kind of where I set out because of the types of properties. This one was less than half of that, and I had a bit of holding costs because I had 2 other projects, so I'd drawn down a bit of money on it. It wasn't cash funded. But, if people are looking at flood damaged properties, I'd give you a bit of advice. It's still very raw for people.
Yeah. It's a bit like Leaky Homes, really. Like, you've got to allow for that fact that somebody else is going to try and get a discount when they buy it off you as well.
Yeah, they will. And I mean, I sold it for a good price. I think I got 1,450 or something, but I should have made a bit more money. But hey, it's still a profit, and it's a kind of a lesson. Stick with the agents that you know and the team that you know. Yep.
Got a question here that where are you getting your funding from? What's where are you sourcing your finance?
Look, I've got mortgages on a revolving credit or drawdown facility or whatever you want to call it. I've also got some cash. I sold a couple of rentals that I'd had for a long time on the North Shore, just at the top of the market, because I knew what was going to happen and I wanted to free up some cash to start trading and put cash in the bank. So I'm in a position where I can do 2 or 3 properties of a good quality in Auckland at a time. Some of them I have to pay some funding on, some of them I don't. But this is just straight out of a normal bank on a 7 point whatever percent. You know, I finished these houses in 5 to 6 weeks, Steve. This one here was 6 weeks.
Yeah, so we're not stuffing around. Yeah,
we're not stuffing around. Oh, there's my New Zealand Herald one that got me in a bit of trouble. You'd like that?
We would like to hear.
Oh, the New Zealand Herald rang me and asked me about this property. This is in Beach Haven, beautiful little property, but the cladding was leaking and I knew the agent and it had fallen over a few times. And I knew it wasn't a big reno. I had my builder look at it. And so I brought it for 600 cash unconditional, spent 100K on it, sold it for 880. But the Herald reported, and I sold it the day after I listed the agents listed it. So I paid for staging for 6 weeks. I didn't need to. But the Herald reported that I made 280K profit.
Right, yeah, because they don't understand expenses.
They don't understand. And I mean, this project took a couple of months. It was the middle of winter because the weather and the outside painting and the roof needed sorting and things like that.
Yeah.
But you'll see they're pretty similar in the finishes. I try to give people a house that they don't have to do anything to, Steve, except curtains and blinds. I never do curtains and blinds because people have to feel that they have something that they can do in their new home.
Yeah.
And I'm selling homes.
Yeah.
You know, so for people who are trading, don't put curtains and blinds up. Don't spend money unnecessarily on those things. Let people add their own touches, but certainly do some staging.
Yeah, agree. I like that. That's cool. You can see the aesthetic, nice clean white interiors.
Yep, they're all the same. So, and I'll tell you what the colours are. They are half Spanish white or full Spanish white, depending on how dark it is. The carpets are a charcoal. They're a mixed blend carpet. All the appliances are black. They're not expensive. All the tapware's black. All the showers are black. Black and white is very in.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to do that in the dark depths of South Auckland, but, you know, that's what people want.
Yep. Super clean. And painting up the beams and stuff. You know, they always close the room in. Love that.
White, and white. Let the stages do the magic.
Yep. They then throw some colour in with the furnishings.
Yeah. So that was sold to a single mum with a teenage boy. She looked at it the night it was finished and brought it the next morning. So
Jody says, I had my eyes on that one. Nice work.
Yeah.
I love it when people like that. Sorry, Jody. 22 Barnfield. This one, I saw the photos of this. I'm like, wow. It's a few deep breaths here.
Isn't it interesting that people are actually living in this, no running water? And the guy actually died in this house, which is unfortunate. But I can't tell you how long he'd been there, but no running water. I'm not quite sure, you know, and I've got plenty of experience in South Auckland and crappy houses, but, you know, some of them really take the cake. And this one, I think on the next slide, there were 12-metre skips of rubbish to take away.
That's a record, surely.
That's a record for me. That all went under the house, and there were a lot of, I guess the sad thing is there were a lot of dead animal carcasses and things, you know, that of different degrees, and that sort of stuff wasn't too flash. But you know what? Yeah, there's good money in that because nobody wants that.
Yeah. 12 foot, I think my record's 8 or 9 or something, and that was a really, really big house.
Yeah, we had to get a little digger under the house because it was just awful.
Wow. All your crew quit on you and stuff?
Oh, yuck.
It's so nasty. Oh, man. I can smell it from here.
It's just awful, isn't it?
So tell me a nice story about how much money you made. Like, did it pay dirt?
Oh, look, I can't remember. This is a long time ago. This isn't a recent property, but I can tell you that it came up. I haven't got some after photos. I looked for some, but it came up really nice in the end. And I can't remember. I think I JV'd with someone to do it in the end because it was such a big job.
Yeah.
And you know, someone else's rubbish is someone else's gold is how I would put it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's definitely rubbish, eh? Murray Bay, how did you find this one?
I brought that at auction, actually. I was the highest bidder. So the kind of tells you.
How they work, eh?
Yeah. And I paid a little bit more than what I wanted to. And I brought it before Christmas. It took me 5 weeks, total reno inside and out. Put a little picket fence up and did a bit more than I wanted to. But I wanted to have it on the market. So in Auckland right now, there are a huge amount of listings.
Yep.
Everybody's come back from holiday, from Christmas. They've had a good summer, and everyone's trying to sell and you know get in the next. Everyone knows that the property market's not moving so much. So I had this on the market pre-auction over Christmas. So there were a lot of people went through there. I always get the most numbers through my houses because I present them so nicely.
Yeah, I mean, I love that green door. It's a nice striking feature, the dark garage.
Yeah.
Everything else is white.
It's beautiful. It looks down over the water. It was 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. I made it 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
You know, but that doorway is rotten and wavery and nasty and, you know, just fixing up all those cosmetic bits and pieces.
Yeah, that doesn't cost a lot of money, you know, that sort of stuff. And the one thing, and I know one of the things that we're going to talk about is, you know, how to add value, but you know, street appeal is really important.
Yeah.
You know, that little picket fence didn't cost a lot of money, but this street was full of $3 and $4 million houses in Murray's Bay, and everyone had little picket fences and nice fences. So, you know, it looks good.
And also, as you say, like it's a first impressions thing, right? So, like when you're looking at the property press or you're looking at the Barfoot's magazine or you're on Trade Me or something, you go, oh, we'll go and have a look at that one. You get the address. And so the first thing you're looking for is the letterbox. So the first thing I did was make the letterbox pretty and then make the walk between the letterbox and the front door pretty as well. Because some people will just drive up and look at it and just drive away again. And they'll never come inside. You've got to make it enticing all the way through, you know?
Yeah, and I also think that applies when you're renting houses out, you know? If you've got good street appeal, people will pull up and they'll think, wow, this is nice. And it may not be the best area, but you'll get more rent.
Yeah. It's what's your best spend then on renovations?
The best spend, best bang for buck, absolutely paint. Absolutely 100%.
So glad you said that.
And I can tell you that, and I worked in the kitchen industry for a very long time, done a lot of kitchens in my past life. And what people do when they walk into a property is they look in front of them and up. So that's walls and ceilings.
Yeah.
So, and then they look at benches and surfaces, and then they look down at the floor. So if you're working on a limited budget, paint and light and bright as you can. Light fittings, not expensive, but new, always new. And then from there, if you can't afford to do a whole kitchen, change the bench top at least.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe paint the cabinets if that's the market that you're in. And then from there, obviously flooring, carpet and stuff. Those are the things that will give you the absolute best bang for your buck.
You agree? Yeah. It's the cheapest stuff, but it's wall to wall on every room. If you do the carpets, the bench tops, and paint every surface, there's nothing you haven't touched. And you haven't spent $20,000-$30,000 on one bathroom and one room or something, you know. No, I love that. And particularly with the example you've got up there now, you know, it's a lockwood, you know, it's wood. It takes a lot to cover that stuff. I've painted a few of those in my time as well. It's not fun.
But you look at the finish and you look at, see, what I'm doing is I'm trying to get, this went to auction. I had 5 bidders. Yep. I ended up 30 grand short of the price that I really wanted, but 20 grand better than the price that was in the mix. I always have a worst case, middle case, which I'm happy with, and gee, I'm really happy with that. So I ended up between really happy, not really happy, but, you know, in between the I'm happy with that and not really happy.
Yeah, so happy. Somewhere between happy and
Yeah. And it's, 5 weeks, it's a good earn.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And roughly ballpark, what sort of money did you earn on this one?
That one, just under 80K.
Yeah. So for 5 weeks' work, it's not bad at all.
Yeah. And, yeah. So.
What do you think the main things that people overlook when they're doing the due diligence? What do people not see when they're walking through a property, for instance?
What do they not see?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think you get tripped up on the most, so to speak?
I think if you're inexperienced, probably whether things need to be permitted or not.
Yeah.
That would be the big thing, and council are less than helpful to people that aren't builders, to be fair.
Yes.
So that would be the first thing. I still get caught out, but decks that the decking looks rotten, and actually the whole deck where you can't see it, and that can be quite a lot of cost. Items that contain asbestos.
Yep.
And even experienced people sometimes can't pick that up. It might be the cladding, it might be the vinyl, it could be something else. It could be the roofing, and
everything. Yeah.
You can't just go playing around with those things. Unfortunately, used to be everyone was worried about P, but not so much anymore. I don't notice that so much anymore. Even in places that I look in South Auckland, that's kind of. But I think the biggest mistakes that people make, Steve, is they try to fudge the numbers.
Yeah, you see that so much. It's like, I really need to pay $700,000 to get this house. I really want to do the project. I'm sure I'll make some money, and they won't.
No.
This is my scenario. People do the numbers from the top down, and they should do the numbers from the bottom up. I'm going to make this much profit for my time, which means I can spend that much on the reno, which means I can spend that much buying the house. That's my settlement cost. This is my top dollar. And I will go to the auction and be second until I buy it for that number,
Exactly. So work from the bottom up. I totally agree. Don't try and kid yourself about the numbers. It will cost what it's going to cost. Make sure you include everything. Like I've got a spreadsheet that is, like this, but it's got everything on it, and it's based on experience. But and I still miss the odd thing, but it's not a big thing.
Yeah.
But know what it's going to sell for. Don't convince yourself. Agents will always tell you that it's it's going to sell for $50,000 more than what it's going to.
So they'll tell you what they need to tell you to get the listing. Yeah. Absolutely.
So roll it back. But I think those things are the things that people probably need to just look out for.
Yeah. I love what you've done with these kitchens with the black and white, the dark and the light colours.
Do you know what? People walk into these kitchens, they buy the house.
Yeah.
Kitchens and bathrooms, they buy the house. If you want to do rooms, do kitchens and bathrooms. If you're selling your own home, you want the best price, kitchens and bathrooms.
Well, the kitchen's become the centre of entertaining these days as well. They want to have pride in their kitchen, and they want to see themselves bringing their mates around and cracking open a beer or some wine on that kitchen bench and having that experience.
I mean, this kitchen, as you see, was closed, and you can't see on where the servery was, but I didn't put a servery on it. I just wrapped it around and left it open. It didn't need a servery. There was enough space. And so, sometimes less is more, and it costs less for cabinets.
Yeah.
Less for bench top.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It was a great colours. And didn't do too much with the glass house bit. Painted it up. Love it.
You can see the houses in the background. They're pretty nice, It's the worst house in the best street, That's what you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. And that carpet colour works. You just end up buying bulk of it, eh? Crap loads of it.
Yeah.
Bloody lovely. Beach Haven, current project. So how long have you been working on this one for?
Actually, I just paid for it today.
Oh, really? It's pretty fresh.
I got it through, as I said, I only work with a few agents because, real estate agents drive me nuts. I'm sorry if you've got some, you'll probably have some online, but, they drive.
I love all real estate agents, guys, for those of you out there listening.
You can't live with them. You can't live without them. It's like your beautiful wife in my case. But, so I got this through an agent who I do a lot of business with. It's off market. It was a builder's own house, never finished.
Right.
40 years ago it was built, and this is the state that it was in.
Wow.
In a really nice street in Beach Haven, just off Island Bay Road. And it's on 1,000 squares, so technically it's not subdividable. But I think it is, and my developer friends think it is as well. So we're trying to get it subdivided at the moment. So I paid $950 for that. I met, sad story, the father who was the builder. They're always sad stories, aren't they, Steve? But you got to work. You're helping somebody to get out of a situation, and you're creating a beautiful home for the next people and making some money, hopefully. So I paid $950. I negotiated it at $1,050,000 and then did the reno and realized that I was miles out for everything. So I negotiated it down to $950, but I gave them a $200K deposit on this, and I negotiated a 4-month settlement. So, and I've just I pay for it tomorrow, actually, I think. And so the renovation will be finished Thursday before Easter, so not a couple of weeks' time, I think it is. So the renovation will be finished. And so the house cost me $950. The reno is exactly $300K, and everybody's going, whoa, that's a lot of money. But I've consented that from a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom to a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom.
Yep.
So I put it,
right.
put it through council, and I've put extensive decking around the property. Subdivided, it will sell for 1,415, so there's some money in it. The section at the back's probably 500 to 600 if we can get that through as well.
Yeah, decent.
So, and it's a beautiful house, beautiful, stunning.
And don't ever feel guilty about giving somebody 950,000 beer vouchers. Particularly when you've got to put another 300 in to make some money.
No, and the guy worked in project management, so he knew he could do it.
Yep,
So
builder's house is always the worst.
Yeah,
crazy.
Beautiful house.
We covered a lot of the questions, I must say, that we had there. Any particular nightmares that you've had, like any one particular reno that's just gone pear-shaped and you've just shaken your head?
I've bought a house and had to spend double on it because it had significant drainage issues, and I did a full building report on it. And do you know what? You win some, you lose some, I guess. And it's and to be fair, that was a while ago. That's probably the worst that I've done.
Done pretty well. Yeah. Well, I know exactly what you mean. And so like literally the next thing that I've got down here is that my event's coming up on the weekend as well. And just having a chat to you about it, and you're going to be front center, sitting in the VIP area with a few clients and bits and pieces. And hopefully you'll have some business cards for your renovation company. And if anybody wants to come along to the event, have a chat to you, and I know it feels like a day at the office now, but like twist your ear about renovations, grab a business card, and use you as a person who can renovate their projects and their properties for them. Then absolutely bang along and say good day. Before we get into those questions or any further questions, we'll try and hit a few, but we're going to be pretty quick here tonight. Obviously, my event's coming up this Sunday, 17th March, Eden Park, and I was going to do a quick ticket sale. Problem with that being, we've struck a wee problem with that, is we've run out of tickets and we've sold out. Now, I think that my manager, who Steve Martin, is going to pop an absolute fuse when I say this, but we're going to put 10 more tickets up, and his brain's going to explode because he's going to go and have to find 10 more chairs. And typical of working at the Quarters Hotel where we did in the past, now at Eden Park, we're going to have to talk to some fire marshals about how many people turn up because we are absolutely packed to the rafters. This, once again, and I can say this with a little bit of ego, a little bit of pride, will be the biggest property event in Auckland this year. We had 300 people last year. We've sold well more than 350 tickets this year, and we have 350 chairs currently. So Mark and I are going to be standing up for the whole event. But apart from that, I'm going to do the quick spiel, and then we'll bang some questions. But it's a very much an upgraded event for 2024. there's a whole pile of new rules and laws. We want to cover those. And I want to talk about the 4 strategies that I'm going to be working through for the next 24 odd months to make property profits, and also how people can transform their property portfolios in 2024. And Mark and I were talking about that earlier too, about absolutely having a cash flow focus so you don't get stuck. Also doing a lot of work today with my investor panel, which is 5 or 6 people that are going to stand on stage and take your questions about how they're doing magnificent stuff in the property market. And we've worked really hard on this today to get a really interesting cross-section. We've got males and females and people from all over the country, and they're all doing very different things to each other. And so that all of the sort of 400 people in the room on Sunday will be able to relate to somebody in there as well. Excellent. And then we've got a whole lot of exclusive experts. We've got Dave Windler coming and talking about lending and structures, Matthew Gilligan about tax and accounting, and he is incredibly good, a major property investor himself as well. And it also gives you guys the chance to network with like-minded people. And when I was coming up in property, I never really looked down at how important that really, really was. And the way that we're making that really work is we're going to buy you lunch, which means you don't have to leave. You can grab a plate of food, you can walk around, and you can go and talk to other people in the room. And I found that that has added at least as much value as the presentation. So I really, really do relate to that as well. The last thing is we've got a special guest speaker coming in. Ed McKnight and also Andrew Nicol, who are OPS partners, are coming up from Christchurch. Now, Ed McKnight is the head economist for OPS. He is very, very good. He is very media savvy. He does a fantastic podcast, which I've been lucky enough to be a guest on a couple of times. And he will cut to the heart of exactly what's going on in the property market from an economist standpoint. And these guys are really great. They present very, very well. So I'm really excited to have these guys, and it just kind of adds a feather to the bow of the other content that we're going to be presenting on the day as well. So here's our special offer. Because you took action and showed up, because so many other people did too, we're doing a special learning guarantee, which basically means that if you don't learn a pile of stuff, you come see me before the end of the day and I'll give you your money back. Even if it's the end of the day, I'm that confident that our stuff is fresh and decent. We're also doing a 50% off ticket deal for the first 24 tickets, which really is the first 10 tickets, because we're going to be trying to find 10 seats, which could get really interesting because we are literally sold out now, and we're going to have to find some more chairs. So if you do want to grab a ticket to this, all you need to do is go to stevegoody.com/webinar. It automatically puts in the 50% discount for watching this webinar. You come to the event, you learn, you do some stuff. It's absolutely as simple as that. It is super, super easy. So go to stevegoody.com/webinar. There's some 50% off automatically there. You grab yourself a ticket. It goes through Eventbrite, and it will email you the ticket. You turn up to Eden Park to the Grand Room this coming Sunday, and we will educate the living hell out of you. You might even be able to have a coffee with Mark and pick his brain. But in the meantime, I'm going to pick a couple of interesting questions and throw those at you just while people are grabbing their last. One of the questions I always get, and I get this a lot, is when you quote those profit numbers, is that before or after tax?
That's gross.
Yep. Figured as much. You don't know what your tax is going to be till later.
I never know. If I trade 6 properties, or if I trade 12, or you just don't know, do you, Steve?
That's
gross.
You don't know what costs you're going to have as well. So what else we got? Something juicy here. Here's a good question. Any advice on starting out to buy, reno, or flip with limited funds, maybe on a smaller scale or a smaller budget?
Yeah, look, I'd like to have a little bit more detail on that, but have you thought about joint venture or working with somebody else or working with family? Just whatever you do with that, make sure that it's clearly done properly through lawyers or whatever, but buy in an area that you can afford, that's within your budget. Start out in a cheap area, try dip your feet in the water, I guess, for want of a better word.
Yep.
Flipping's not the easiest thing to do. Go and, work with or work for, or just be around people that are doing a couple.
You watch what they do, watch what they buy, watch what they don't buy, watch how much they offer, ask them how they figure out their numbers, and follow a project through for 5 or 6 weeks and watch whether somebody else made any money on it. Yeah, all of that stuff is really, really valuable. Come and pick your brain at the event. I mean,
Absolutely.
Yeah. That was a good question. How do you get consent for a second bathroom so quickly if you're doing projects like real fast?
So have an architect that, I have an architect and a draftsperson that I work with, and I'm happy to share their details with people, again, if they come and see me on Sunday in Auckland. And I have one that's moving down to Queenstown as well, who would be happy to help. But you're not... I had an interesting... I'll go off take a little. I had an interesting conversation with my builder today who's doing that project at Odin, the last one that we showed. And he paid double for the consents and drawings that he got for his house that I paid for mine through my architect. And I was like, mate, you're a builder. How does that happen? But look, get it done. Try and get a longer settlement or a settlement that you can get early access. If you can't get that, then you need an architect that will start on the work immediately. Council in Auckland is 3 weeks at the moment. It's really, really quick. They don't have a massive amount of new builds. I don't know about the rest of the country. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And you can do everything else in the house and just have the bathroom, if it's a bathroom, left to do at the end. So that's just a bit of project management. Again, I'm happy to have conversations with people about how you might do that. But It's not taking months to get consents through. It's taking weeks. Councils are not.
That's a really good point, because new build consents have actually halved this year from
they're less in Auckland. They're way down. And getting builders and tradespeople is very, very easy at the moment.
Yeah, crazy. Excellent. A lot of people asking also about doing renovations before you settle the property. So you're getting early access, particularly those properties that are, basically wrecked and vacant. You're getting early access to them really, really quick.
Yes, I am. So I'm, I'll. What I try to do, Steve, is find what the situation is with the buyer.
Yeah.
Like if I can find out what their situation is, then I can work it to their advantage and to mine. So in that Odin case, I gave them a big deposit, so they know I'm not going to run away on them, and they give me 4 months, so I'm finished. So I don't know holding costs. But if you don't, my dad used to say to me, son, if you don't ask, you don't get. And don't be put off by the agent saying, oh, they're not going to do that. Ask the agent to go and ask the question. I put every property that I buy, I put the same early access clause in for at least 4 weeks. If they take it out, they take it out. But often I can negotiate something.
Yeah. But they might say yes, and then you've had an absolute win out of it. You get half the renovation done before you have to pay for it.
And so just a couple of things on that very quickly. One is you can't insure a property that is not owned by you.
Yeah.
So the person that owns the property has to keep their insurance. You can get contract works, or you can get the company that's working in there will have public liability. You must have public liability. You need to see that anyway. But so you need to just work out the insurance. You don't want it to burn down.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Last question, then we'll bang this one up there. How much due diligence do you do before you get a property under contract?
I try to make cash unconditional offers.
Yeah.
So I try to do all my due diligence beforehand. I will, if it's not straightforward, like the one that I went to today, which is at auction tomorrow, I will take my builder to make sure that I'm 100%. I do the numbers, Steve, from the bottom up.
Yep.
Always do the numbers. And if I don't, my wife isn't happy. I do the time frame, and I do, I make sure I read the limb, I read the title. If I've got time and I'm really serious, I'll buy the property file, or I'll ask if the owner's got it. I'll ask for house plans. I'll try and get as much information as possible. So I want to be able to give them something absolutely clean.
Yeah.
Because every time there's a clause in there, that's an objection.
Yeah. But that comes from a level of experience too, Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, your checklist needs to be, do the numbers work? That's the first thing, isn't it? Otherwise, you're doing it for nothing. And the second thing needs to be, what am I looking to get out of this? Am I, how much am I going to spend? How much is this reno going to be? What is the time frame? Can I get early access? And if you go through all of those same processes, you'll find it quite easy. You'll get yourself into a formula.
Yep. No, I love that. No, exactly what I would do as well. Hey, look, well, I'm not going to hold you up all night. We've sold 2 or 3 more tickets, and there's like 2 tickets left. So if anybody's on there on the bench, grab the last ones. It makes the next few days of mine really relaxing. I don't have to do anything. But hey, look, thanks so much, Mark, for being so candid and just showing us exactly what you're up to and what you're doing. Stoked that you spent some time tonight having a chat to these people that I'm sure got a lot of value out of it, and really glad that you're coming along on the weekend as well. I've been looking forward to catching up with you.
It'll be great to see you. Thanks for putting on. I know it's going to be an awesome event. Thanks for doing it. I think, people are going to have a cracker day. And imagine being in a room with all those property investors, Steve. It's just gold, isn't it?
That's the thing, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we don't get a Christmas party when we do this stuff on our own, and you've always got to lead your own charge. And just to be able to sit around and go, well, what are you doing? And then what are you doing? And, I think that's so much value to be had there. So, really looking forward to knocking this one out of the park. So, thankful for the 400 odd people that have already bought tickets, and
I'm looking forward to hearing your panel. Actually, your 6 or so people. That's really exciting, I think.
Yeah, really good. I've got very green, done a couple of deals right through to do 200 deals a year, and all around the country. And I think having that diversity so that everybody can relate to somebody and go, I'm kind of where that guy is, and I want to be where that lady is next. I think that's really important. So I'm looking forward to banging that one out of the park. But hey, look, I won't hold you up anymore, or anybody else on the webinar. Thanks, everybody. You've got the websites, the details, and the information there. And if you want to grab any of those last remaining tickets, absolutely help yourself. Otherwise, thank you so much, Mark, for sharing all of your knowledge tonight. And we'll look forward to catching up with you on the weekend.
See you, Steve. See you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys. See you later.